Imagine a world where you're smashing everyone on the mat, you recover really well, you feel strong as fuck. Simply by understanding the basics of training. Now, by the basics, I mean the basics of strength and conditioning. Jumping, throwing, getting stronger, building muscle, building endurance, building aerobic base. Doing all of these things, doing them well and doing them frequently will have you feeling better on the mat than you have felt in years. Anyone who already does this knows that I am not lying, and this is absolutely the crack. Jumping is one of those fundamental human movements that we do. It's a really high velocity movement where our muscles have to contract quickly and produce quite a lot of force. As a result, it's really good at building power over time. We can do it in a horizontal plane, we can do it in a vertical plane, we can do it in a lateral plane, we can jump loads of different ways. We can do it plyometrically, where we make quite a short ground contact and then rebound off that. And the point being that we can jump in a number of different ways in our training. Each of them carries slightly different benefits, but the main thing is that we would apply this type of training over time, and we could see a huge difference in our athleticism if we introduced jumping and we introduced plyometrics, and we hadn't been doing that beforehand. That's a game changer. Alongside that then, throwing is another fundamental movement that if you get good at throwing and you get good and explosive, your brain gets really good at organizing your body in such a way that it's able to throw explosively, and this is just really good training, really good information and feedback for your brain to work with, and these sort of things are really good at making you more athletic, more powerful over time, and increasing your output. So just increasing the availability of force production and how much you're able to output. That has big transfer onto the mat, and it's a massively important thing to include in your training. Again, if you haven't been doing it, it makes such a huge difference to introduce this. Fundamental to all of this, and the pillar of all of this, is getting stronger. It's really important to realize that this is a multi-year endeavor, and not to try and rush this. This takes time. However, it's more important in many ways than jiu-jitsu, because one day, and I say this to my athletes all the time, one day you're not going to be able to do jiu-jitsu anymore. I know that's not necessarily the point of this video, but when you then are no longer able to do that, the next day you're going to walk into the gym to lift weights, because strength is a fundamental quality that you would look to acquire over your entire life. It just happens to have enormous transfer to sport, and if you find yourself going from a place of not being strong to being strong over the period of even 2, 3, 4, 5, which is an entirely realistic period to put aside for building strength, you would see a change in how you perceive sport, how you perceive jiu-jitsu, how you perceive recovery. The change would be absolutely something that you cannot imagine. And like, I was one of these people. When I was younger, I was not athletic at all. I was not developed at all physically, and I trained for years to build myself up. I'm not that physically developed, to be fair, it didn't work that much. But like, it makes an enormous difference. And if you haven't done it, and you introduce that to your training, and you take a couple of years to actually progressively build strength, it will make an enormity of difference you can't even believe. Alongside that, and this is a really just important thing for health and longevity as well as looking good, which is nothing wrong with that, is building muscle. It's really important to be able to add tissue to your frame over time, get stronger, build muscle. This is really, really important because it protects you from injury, but it also makes you healthier. And it's just the people that are stronger and have more muscle tissue, research consistently shows they do better when they get sick, they do better in general, they do better with longevity. It's a really, really good idea just in general, alongside the fact that people tend to look better when they build muscle tissue. Nothing wrong with that. We can want to be good at sport, and we can want to be strong, and we can want to look good. Nothing wrong with that. And it's a really, really good idea for health. So honestly, as well as being an enormous benefit on the mat. So it's a win-win-win, and it's another essential pillar of training that you have to implement. Get a little bit more niche here, but I think this is like really, really important for jiu-jitsu, and it's absolutely a physical quality that you can develop over time, which is building muscular endurance. It ties in somewhat to like aerobic capacity that we're going to talk about now in a second, but muscular endurance is just your ability to produce muscular efforts repeatedly over time. And this is really, really important because in many sports, the effort is not sustained. Take any field sport like football or rugby. Yes, the effort is sustained over a long period of time, but for the individual players, it's usually short bursts of activity up to maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes long in a long exchange, and then there's interspersed rest periods. Jiu-Jitsu by definition is multiple minutes long every time, and you could be stuck in one positional exchange for that entire time. And as a result of that, it's really important to build endurance qualities in our muscle as well, so that we can maintain force for longer, we can produce more efforts over time for longer, and we can put these physical qualities on our opponent all the way through the time that we have available to us, which is oftentimes going up into the double digits of minutes when you're a black belt and you're competing in like competitive matches and shows, etc. And then the last point on that is building aerobic base. Like, this underpins the entire thing. A lot of what we've talked about so far is like neuromuscular, like your nervous system and your muscle system ability to produce force through jumping, throwing, building strength, building muscle, etc. But on the other side of things, the cardiovascular system, and this underpins everything. The fitter you are, the better your CV system is, your heart, your lungs, your blood vessels. That is going to more efficiently transfer blood and oxygen and everything that this system needs. This CV system is going to transfer all of that over. So it's really, really important that you underpin all of this with being fit aerobically, doing zone 2 cardio, keeping a low heart rate zone between 50-75% for extended bouts of effort. There's so much out there with all the hybrid and high rocks and people arguing about zone 2 and all the different ways. Long, slow duration cardio will build aerobic base over time, and without getting lost in the weeds at it at all, long, slow, aerobic base duration cardio, anything, swimming, treadmill, bike, rower, it doesn't matter. Get your heart rate up a little bit and sustain it for a long period of time. You'll get fitter. That building an aerobic base, that's what underpins all the neuromuscular system adaptations. It makes everything more efficient. It makes everything work better. And it is the pillar that underpins everything else. The fitter you are, it is only good news. Again, from a health standpoint, it just can't be overstated how important it is to be aerobically fit. Win, 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 win. All right, so that is your pillars of essentials of strength and conditioning. Honestly, it's really, really important that we just nail those things down. It doesn't have to be fancy. Take the piss out of sport specific sometimes on my Instagram. It doesn't have to be fancy like the sport. It just has to be good quality, getting stronger, getting better at jumping, getting better at throwing, building muscle over time, getting fitter over time. These things done over year-long periods will yield results you would not believe, and you'll absolutely be able to transform yourself as an individual. But you just stick to the basics over time, and as jiu-jitsu athletes who are trying to keep up a sport, sticking to the basics over time is really, really important. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back at you with more shit, and yeah, catch you soon.